Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video, as Nigel Farage continues his Reform UK roadshow around the country, I'd like to discuss how his party seem to rely on non-democratic methods of securing power. But if they're so popular, shouldn't they want to embrace democracy? But first, for daily political commentary, please hit the subscribe button to stay notified. So Reform UK have been carrying out a series of rallies around the country. Good idea, of course. Sort of like an emerging band going on tour to build up support. But the main messages which seem to come away from them are a little bit at odds with their own claims. See, they claim to be a people-powered organisation. And yet, this band of multi-millionaires keep boasting about ways of bypassing democracy. Like the latest rally, Durham, one of the guests Farage invited to speak said that those who backed Remain shouldn't be allowed the vote. Well, due to the way that Remain Leave vote was skewed based on age, statistically there are more Remain voters alive today than Leave ones. And because a lot of younger people coming of age to vote since would have backed Remain, the majority of voters today statistically backed Remain. Now, why would a party who thinks it has the answers to make everyone better off and has the support of the people need to talk about restricting democracy, even if intended to be a bit tongue-in-cheek, not an official policy? But that was just one Reform UK speaker casually joking about dictatorship at a rally for a party led by a man who sang Hitler Youth songs and who was recently caught meeting with a group of actual neo-Nazis, as reported in Byline Times. But Reform UK actively boast about subverting democracy. See, at the rally, they presented what the Express generously called two huge defections in key seats. That's what they said. Now, a little tangent, because I want to take a look at this headline before continuing. So if I see a headline, Nigel Farage announces two huge defections in key seats, I'm thinking, that's two Conservative MPs. And it must be in seats where they had a tight battle with Reform UK. Wow, this is a game changer. I mean, huge defections got to include MPs, right? Those would be huge defections. Absolutely. Putting Reform UK on 7 MPs in Parliament, giving Kemi Badenoch a massive headache for the start of the week. Why is this not all over the news? It's because it would appear that the Express were being a little bit generous in their headline. It turned out they were just councillors. And one of the councillors had just quit the Conservatives, not because of Badenoch's leadership, not because of their 14 years of failure, not even because she thought people were more likely to vote Reform in her ward and was just jumping ship for selfish reasons. No. It was because the Conservatives binned her. They told her they didn't want her to be their candidate at the next election, so her choice was to stand as an independent or stand for Reform UK. And according to the local paper, the Northern Echo, she had said she didn't think she had the money to stand as an independent. So her motives for joining Reform UK seem to have nothing to do with their policies and aims, but her wanting to be a councillor and needing a sponsor, and Reform UK being happy to be that sponsor. Now, I don't know her personally. Maybe she's a really good councillor and the Tories dropped her out of snobbery because she's poor. I make no judgment on her as a person or as a councillor, don't have enough information. But nonetheless, it's important to note the circumstances. Farage said that these councillors were elected as Conservatives 4 years ago, but have decided that the right thing to do is come across to Reform UK. But in at least one of those two cases, that is obviously not what happened at all. She went across because the Conservatives dropped her and she didn't think she had the money to stand on her own. Had the Conservatives still wanted her as a candidate for the reorganised structure at the next election, she would still be a Conservative. And Farage has accepted her on that basis. Not only is it not a huge defection, it's not a defection at all. Farage has, not for the first time, picked someone out of the Tory reject bin. I mean, how desperate do you have to be picking people out of the Tory reject bin right now and parading them as some great trophy in front of your supporters? Look what I dragged out the bin. Aren't they supposed to be the next government? Why are they going on stage saying, here's something the Tories threw away, but we'd love it? Like the other councillor, Joe Quinn, he may have defected because he thinks it's his best chance of re-election, or maybe he genuinely believes in Reform UK. Can't comment, don't know. What I can do is point out what Farage is reported to have said, and I quote, We started today's conference with just one county councillor in Durham, but we have finished it with 3. Now, obviously, all parties welcome defections to them. Of course they do. But that statement is an admission that the way Reform UK mostly build up their power is through non-democratic means, not at the ballot box. And Farage has been spending a lot of time urging Conservative councillors to defect to him. And there are 2 advantages for him. First, it means he doesn't have to bother with all that tedious getting public support in an election. He gets councillors without public support, and then when the next election comes along, you've got the incumbent, which gives you an advantage because they are the known name. Second, it means you've got another party to do your vetting for you. See, we know Reform UK struggle in that department. So why are Reform UK putting in so much effort and celebrating the success of ways of swelling their numbers without public support? Is it because their performance in actual elections has been a little bit disappointing? See, first of all, there was the general election. Now, huge haul of votes, of course, absolutely. Relatively pathetic haul of seats, though. 3rd largest share of the vote, but only 5 MPs. The Lib Dems in 4th place on votes won has 72 MPs. So no wonder Richard Tice was speaking in favour of electoral reform during the debate last week. Maybe he should remind his colleagues that Reform UK has an official policy of wanting a more proportional system, because one of the party's MPs voted against it last December. But it's not just the general election where Farage behaved as if he won. Council by-elections not really gone their way either. There have been over 180 by-elections since the general election now. Reform UK, you know, this big power on the rise, you know, the party that people are naturally going towards. They don't like the Conservatives, maybe they're not happy with Labour. Oh, they'll vote Reform UK. Over 180 council by-elections since the general election. How many have Reform UK won? Well, it must be at least 20 or 30. No, it's 7. Not exactly a political earthquake, is it? And actually, I seem to recall something about 10 Reform UK councillors quitting. Between 10 and 12. I forget exactly how many it was. Which would actually mean they're net down. I mean, is it any wonder they have to look to non-democratic means of boosting their numbers, as well as playing cuckoo and getting someone else to do their candidate vetting for them? Because when put to the test, they don't seem to have quite the level of public support that their rhetoric or the mates in the mainstream media giving them free publicity would have us believe. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. If you've enjoyed the video, please click the like button and subscribe for further content. If you'd like to support the channel further, you can click the join button for memberships. Thanks for watching. Until next time, I'll see you later.